What is up, Rock Podcast Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the fastest growing conservative podcast in the United States with yours truly at Real Mike Bell and my co-host over there,
Ryan, our guest.
That's right, Ryan, bringing the power today. Not messing around, man. We are killing it. And guess what, guys? You know who is not killing it lately? Anthony Cuomo. That fucking guy up in New York, excuse my language. We are trying to get better, I promise. That guy has had the ability to skirt every single bullet that is thrown his way, and he's been doing it for decades, man. He is no better than any of those other freaking left quack jobs that are constantly double standarding it, saying one thing, doing something else, accusing somebody of something, and then letting other people slide off of it, man. And this guy literally is the embodiment of scum. And it's gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad that his part, like everybody else in New York from the Democratic Party, is coming out against this guy. I mean, they're slamming him. Like Alexandria AOC, because I know I'll mess the name up. AOC has came out and called for his resignation. His resignation. Let me make sure I get the right words out there. I mean, it's everywhere. Everybody is calling for Cuomo to be gone. And so why isn't he? Why hasn't he gone? And why hasn't Nancy Pelosi came out as the Speaker of the House, right? The House of Representatives is a Democratic House. And why hasn't the Speaker, the face of the Democratic Party outside the POTUS, came out and actively condemned what Anthony Cuomo was doing? Not only actively condemned, right? Because if the facts were the facts and he had been convicted of some wrongdoing, we wouldn't need her condemnation. But why hasn't she openly came out and called for his resignation? Well, I don't know. I have no idea, but I wish I did. And what bothers me, Ryan and Rock Podcast Nation, is the double freaking standard. You know, it wasn't too long ago that Kavanaugh was coming up through his confirmation hearing and his selection. He was coming up through Congress, and Nancy Pelosi essentially did everything she could to freaking blackball this man, and not just her, but the entire Democratic Party. And to me, it's just it's something that just speaks to the double standard that is the Democratic Party. And for those of you that follow you want to know what the Republican Party does, right, Ryan? The Republican Party picks a candidate and then supports him, right? They are a very cohesive party. Now, you do have a couple of outliers, right? You have some very vocal people that are up and coming and push inside that Republican Party, such as Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, whenever he was very active and stuff like that. But for the most part, the Republican Party is the Republican Party. The opposite of that is the Democratic Party. In the Democratic Party, you have the old party line Democrats, the old gray hairs, right? And then you've got all of these different caucuses that form, and then you've got the up-and-comers, the uber progressives. I mean, if you go back last year, you look at the Democratic presidential debate, the primary debates, what you saw was a whole bunch of freaking mudslinging, man. You had people from Buttigieg to de Blasio, Biden, all these other people, man, that were just savaging each other. I mean, the mudslinging was just unreal, dude. And not even to get into the fact about how Kamala and Biden went after each other, right? I mean, just that entire party is fractured, right? I mean, you have so many different groups inside of it, but here's something, all right? When a Republican does something wrong, when a Republican does some kind of heinous activity, there's a consistent either support or oppression of that person within the Republican Party. In the Democratic Party, it's different. You have all these old wigs, right? All these old white-haired people that won't actively come out in favor or in denial of something, right? They kind of stay back and they watch what happens around them. And then you have these very progressive types that are very active in coming out that, in my opinion, more accurately represent kind of that left leaning to left ideology, not the far left and not the old mind left, right? But when it comes to Cuomo, what you see here is you have like AOC and you have those types that are actively calling for his resignation. And then you have even recently, and Ryan, I wanted to play this. I mean, guys, before we get into the meat and potatoes here, what I want to preface is that the news isn't doing a very good job of covering this. And I think
That's by choice.
Yeah, it's by choice. And what it is I think that there is, I think that you should be paying attention, because what this does is this is kind of some ammunition, you know, in your pocketbook later when you have to argue points. If you are arguing from the right of center and you need to debate with somebody left of center or left, then you need to be able to say, okay, well, please explain to me why the front, the position of the left is wavering when it comes to holding Cuomo accountable. Now, what you'll see here is the Democratic majority, Schumer has came out recently and actively called for Cuomo's resignation. All right. But the Speaker of the House won't. And it's like, ooh, is this the first rift in the power play? Or are they who like flipped the coin on that and said, okay, you go speak about Cuomo. I'll play the party line and we'll get there. But here's what Schumer had to say about it, guys. So again, if you're listening, the link to this video will be down in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, then this will be right there. You can see it right here, right? So here it is, Ryan.
New York State, under this COVID crisis, needs safe and they need secure and safe and strong leadership. The women have come forward. I'm proud they have. They've made some serious allegations, and they should be listened to. Because of these allegations, the governor has lost the confidence of his governing partners and of many New Yorkers, and he should step down.
Who is that?
That is Schumer. That is him directly coming out. He's the Democratic majority. He actively came out and called for Cuomo's resignation, right? Schumer's the guy that always stood next to Pelosi in all the press briefings when they were trying to impeach Donald Trump both times.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see it. You're starting to see it come out, but we're not hearing, I guess, what we're not seeing is kind of what's the word I'm looking here for, Ryan? Like the mudslinging, right? Whenever Kavanaugh was going through his Senate confirmation hearing and everything like that, the mudslinging was ridiculous, right? It wasn't, although the left tries to say that they were waiting for all the facts to come out, they were blatantly bringing up facts. You know what I'm saying? And they were putting it out to the American population like daily, you know? But now with Cuomo, it's as if they're trying to keep it hush hush. And I don't know why, but I have this hypothesis, Ryan. Now, bear with me because this is kind of conspiratorial. All right. So Rock Nation, bear with me on this a little bit. But if we go back in time to when COVID kind of first popped off, right? When we go back in time to when COVID first popped off, what did Cuomo do?
Shut everything down.
Now he put all of the sick people
that's
in the old people's home.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's another scandal. That's a whole other scandal by itself.
And he did a lot of things wrong with COVID. You know, his administration were the ones that were showing the videos of like those meat packer trucks, saying that there were morgue vehicles.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one who asked for that Navy, not a carrier, Navy vessel to be stood up with an emergency hospital because they
barely even use it.
And they barely even used it. He's the one who begged and pleaded and then shamed President Trump for not giving him all the PPE he needed, only for that stuff to be tucked away in a box somewhere and never to be used.
Well, you saw there was actually some other kind of news scandals that kind of popped up recently where related to COVID and him, where his family members and friends and things like that nature, they were getting their COVID tests done out of usual protocol, and they were getting expedited service. They were having the New York State Police get the test and expedite them and drive them to the testing facility and get them tested on the spot. For his brother, it's on air. He's what is he on CNN? His brother's a CNN personality and whatnot. And now it's also coming into question whether those same individuals got expedited COVID vaccinations ahead of when they were supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, there's all this COVID scandal, right? And I think that a lot of this started popping off within, Trump's last, couple months of office. He started to call out Cuomo for his epic failure in the way that New York handled the COVID response. And I've listened to other podcasts. I've talked to people from up in New York, and they say it's like a ghost town, man. Like, you see all of these restaurants and stuff that are just closed. You see, you walk down Times Square and it's just like a ghost town, man. Like his response to COVID was way over the top, way too dramatic, way too force of hand, and he went about it all wrong. And so here's my kind of conspiracy here, man. What if, this is so messed up, I don't even want to say it. What if all of these kind of sexual misconduct allegations are just kind of trumped up charges to get the media talking about that
versus his COVID shit?
Versus his COVID shit.
Yep.
Because if they start to pry into the COVID shit.
It's not just him.
But let me finish this, all right? If they start to pry in to the COVID shit, maybe Cuomo will come out and say, look, I was just doing as I was told.
I was doing
by my party.
Yep.
Right? I was doing what Nancy Pelosi told me to do. I was making this out to be a much bigger deal than it really was. Right? And maybe because of the pressure, because of everything else that was on him, he was about to crack and finally just come out and say, look, guys, I just did what I was told to do. Right? And in an effort to kind of deflect that away, maybe they told Cuomo, like, here, you take the fall for the sexual misconduct stuff. Don't worry about it. We'll pay, right? We'll get all the compensation out to these alleged. And I don't want to be a victim shamer here. That's not it. But I'm just painting this picture.
At this point, they are alleged,
right? You're gonna take the fall for the sexual misconduct stuff in an effort to shut up people about the massive failings of the COVID response, right? If you remember back in January and February, everyone was calling for his head for his response to the COVID crisis. Now, not so much. Now, no one's even really talking about it. Everyone wants to stop talking about the COVID stuff, and now the focus is on the sex stuff. Yeah. Why is that?
Well, they're already deflecting from that, too. I searched Cuomo real quick just on Google just to see, and only has coming up, well, not only thing, but the first page of all the searches, most of the stories that are coming up is how he legalized marijuana or some shit like that, which is fine. I'm all about that, too. But that's now a deflection off of that. So just, change the narrative. Mm-hmm. Change the narrative.
It's all they're doing, man. They're just changing the narrative. They're bouncing it around. And you got to give the press some credit, for at least, like, the press knows that the American population wants these questions asked, okay? Like, there's, a chief editor in charge somewhere that says, yeah, I got a finger on the pulse of America. I know they care what the president thinks about all this stuff. But, of course, you can't ask the president hard questions. And guys, we'll have a short coming out very soon. It'll be a short episode. You'll be able to find it in bonus content. It'll be on the YouTube of me just kind of going live and talking about everything that happened in the most recent press conference. And our buddy, one of our founding members, Chris Brand, actually pointed out. I'm digressing. Chris Brand pointed out there's this video that's circulating that you can tell was completely edited, but we'll get into that. I'll run through that on the short. Right, it's not for this episode, but when asked when the press understands that the American population wants to know what the president thinks about this. I want to know. I want to know why the president hasn't actively pushed for Cuomo's resignation. Well, the press, of course, softball questions, can't even get to President Biden because he's not doing those pressers, right? Ask his press secretary, Psaki, and what she said was, the president believes that every woman who's come forward deserves to have her voice heard, should be treated with respect, and should be able to tell her story. Psaki went on to add that Biden believes the independent investigation should move forward, but he never goes out and just says, dude, you've lost the faith of your constituents. You need out. I mean, look how quickly, Ryan, look how quickly the Democrats pushed for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Right? Look
Twice.
Look at who was it? Stormy Daniels, that porn star they tried to say, and like try to bring that into it, right? The grab him by the, that whole thing, right? There was that. There's all this other stuff about sexual misconduct that it's a very thing and people need to be talking about it. And we need to be holding people accountable.
The
There's
woman
no
must
way
be heard.
The woman must be heard. This man's not fit to lead.
And not only that, but the woman must be believed.
Yeah, right. And guys, Right of Center podcast. All right, Mike Bell, Ryan Gass. I'm going to speak for you a little bit here. Correct me if I'm wrong. We are not victim shamers.
Yeah.
If you have been a victim of sexual misconduct, you need to be heard. We encourage that.
But not inherently believed just based on the one statement.
Check this out, Ryan. What happens if you're accused of sexual misconduct on the line of duty? You're on an admin leave until it is resolved. Why the hell isn't there something like that for politicians? Why isn't Cuomo on freaking admin leave until he figures this out? Because what if he's up there getting all of his ducks in a row, paying the right people, getting everything set up so that should he be found guilty, he's already got all these other cards in play where he could just roll right out of governorship, right into some consulting or right into some other kind of political maneuvering, right? Like he needs to be on admin leave. He should not be able to influence legislation in the freaking state of New York until this shit is figured out. And why the freaking Speaker of the House of Representatives of the entire United States, all right? She is my speaker as much as she's your speaker, as much as she's Rock Podcast Nation speaker. Like it or not, she needs to have our best interest in heart. And I'm going to tell you something. My best interest right now is to see that freaking schmuck who allegedly 7 people now have come out. Even current members of his staff have came out. His ass needs to be on admin leave, or he needs to step down because, in my opinion, although I'm not a resident of New York, how the hell can he have confidence? How the hell... After the COVID scandal, after the freaking erroneous treatment of the elderly, after all the misappropriation of funds and resources through COVID, after all of that, now the sexual freaking misconduct charges, right? Why the hell is this guy still in any kind of position to influence legislation in that state? That's what I want to know.
Could you imagine if he was a Republican? The accountability that he'd be held to.
Oh my God! I mean, you look at the only analog I can draw right now. Well, there's a couple. There's is either a senator or a representative from the state of Florida, I think it is, right? Who is currently getting some sexual misconduct charges levied against him for a 17-year-old or whatever that traveled with him, and he had potentially inappropriate actions with. That's under investigation. That's getting a lot of news coverage. But the only thing I can really think about is like if you veer off a party line, the only person that's really doing that right now is Senator Cruz. And what he's doing is what his constituents want him to do, right? You're pushing against the narrative. You're pushing against the envelope, right? You're saying, I'm not just going to sit here and live in my little box and do politics the way it used to be. I'm going to be out here. I'm going to be active, and I'm going to be a voice for the population. That's what started when Donald Trump got elected. All right. And now it's like we're regressing. We're regressing back into where the freaking politicians are a unique set of people that can't be held accountable.
They're above the law.
Now, fuck that. All right. Excuse my language, Rock Nation, but this shit right here has got me pissed off. And I don't give a shit if you're sitting here thinking, whoa, why do we talk about local stuff? Why don't we talk about things that are more right of center? This is right of center. Because if we let this shit happen here, what's going to stop it from happening again? When can we start holding our public officials accountable? Why isn't there such thing as admin leave for these people when they are trumped up on charges?
And honestly, I'm about to take a kind of a little bit of a 180, but it's not just we're not just for accountability for Democrats. Like a Republican Republican governor, because we're on the level of governors. Republican Governor Larry Hogan, he's still yet been held accountable or be investigated when it comes to the Korean COVID test that he bought. He spent was it $9 million in taxpayer funding? That's including yours and my dollars were spent on these tests that we don't even know if they were used. We know that they weren't. Supposedly they weren't capable of being used. They weren't compatible with the testing system they had up and running in Maryland. For a while there, he had the test. He thought that somehow Trump was going to take and confiscate his tests and use them for as a federal resource, and he had them hidden and guarded by the Maryland State Police. Where's honestly the investigation when it comes to that? I think that he should be investigated when it comes to that and the misappropriation of taxpayer funding being used to be sent overseas to buy worthless product.
Yeah, and here's, I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole because I'm not up on the facts on that.
We should have we should have another discussion just on that.
Let's do it. But the guy I was talking about is this guy named, and I'm going to botch the way you pronounce his last name, but it's Matt Gaetz or something like that. And he's a Florida congressman. And this, we've been saying this lately, guys, and you need to pay attention to this because this is something huge. Control the language, control the population, right? Control the language, control the culture. As Ryan was speaking, I was trying to identify who that Republican that's accused of sexual misconduct that I was mentioning here, Matt Gaetz. When I searched it, guess what the New York Times has this labeled as, Ryan? What's that? Matt Gaetz accused of trafficking, sexual trafficking. Like, bro, what he's being charged with is sex with an underage girl. Right? Somebody that was supporting his campaign that, yes, went across state lines with him. But he's not trafficking. It's not like the freaking cartel.
Just spin me up on it, because honestly, I've been busy as fuck with work lately.
All right, give me a second.
What's the download?
New York Times trying to freaking get me to pay up.
I know, I just found it too.
Jeez, man. It's like, all right, Florida Representative Matt Gaetz reportedly under investigation for relationship with a 17-year-old girl. Florida Republican who was literally the only person to vote against a 2017 bipartisan anti-sex trafficking bill. This dirty son of a bitch. He's now reportedly being investigated for having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl and violating laws against sex trafficking in the process. The sex trafficking is like this, guys. If you live in Southern Maryland and you take and you're 19 and you got a 17-year-old girlfriend, you take her across the nice bridge over there to Virginia to get some gore melts, and then have a little something fancy happen on the way home, you are now a sex trafficker because you took a minor across state lines and had sexual activity with him. So... Could
be trafficking if you go across county lines too?
No, I don't think so. But according to a recent report from the New York Times, the investigation was launched during Trump's term under former Attorney General William Barr and focuses on an alleged 2019 relationship between Gaetz and a 17-year-old girl. I'm going to pull up this picture real quick. Dude, doesn't this guy look like he's from, sorry, Rock Nation, if you want, I'll put a link down to this.
He looks like a politician.
He looks like a politician, but doesn't he look like he looks like somebody from the Goodfellas, doesn't he?
Maybe.
He looks like not Joe Pesci. Who's the other one? I can't remember his name, but I mean, he looks like a scumbag. But, doesn't surprise me.
So, like, I'm just curious because, like, I'm new to the story. So, how did this come to light? Like, how did they start doing an investigation? Did the girl make a complaint or something like that? Did somebody find something? I really don't know.
I don't know. I'll write up a blog article about this and post it over there on rockpodcastnation.com. If you guys don't know, we do host a blog over there. We're not incredibly active on it, guys, because we really do like to do our research before we write that stuff up. And if you're familiar with writing papers, it takes hours. And we got to find time to do that. But I'll write up a blog post about this guy and I'll share it out. I'll also write up some comments and tag this link, and I'll put it in our new Facebook group that we're championing called
Right of Center.
Yeah, Right of Center, Conservative America. Right. That's right, guys. That's up to 600 or so people now. Yep. If you're listening and you haven't found that group yet, head over there and find it. Right of Center, Conservative America. And once you're in there, don't just go in there. Get in there and invite 20 of your friends. Because I know each of you listening has at least 20 friends, I would hope. At least 20 like-minded buddies. Bring them on over there.
They might have more friends, but they've all been deleted from Facebook because they're all conservative.
Oh, that's right.
So this group's going to be relatively small because most of the conservatives have been deleted from Facebook, or they've had multiple accounts deleted from Facebook.
I'll bring it over. I'll post something up over there, guys. But here's the thing. It's the double standard. All right, it's a double standard. If you think about it like this, guys, and maybe, so I'm a numbers guy, right? I work with numbers for a living. I'm formally trained to look at numbers a certain way and try to understand them. This is where we're at. The president is one person out of 340 million. Could you imagine how small that is? That literally is like trying to find the needle in the haystack. The amount of power he has, he should be held to a much higher standard, and we should value his opinion as such. Now, if the president of the United States will not come out and openly ask for this man to step down until the charges are finished, or appoint his deputy governor to run the state until these charges are processed, then what the hell, right? Like I'm not feeling very confident that the position of president is what it should be. And take it one step further than that. There are only 100 senators in this entire country. That is 100 out of 340 million. If I did the percentage on that, it would essentially be zero. All right? It was some rounding. The amount of people in that office need to be held to a higher standard. And then, even smaller than that, Ryan, there are only 50 people that are governors in the entire country out of 340 million people. The percentage of people that are governors is so small, it's essentially nothing. Those people need to be held to a higher standard. And we have elected officials. We have people that should be having a checks and balance. And you can't count on your frickin' state AG to attorney general to go after these people because they're all in the same frickin' pocketbooks, right? I think, Ryan, and in fact, this is going to be the first one that I do. I am going to try to champion a bill for frickin' what is known as administrative leave for federal officials while they're under, at least at the state level. And I don't know, maybe I won't get anywhere with it, and maybe there already is something like that, but I'm going to do some investigation. And if there's not something like that right now, check it out, man. It's going to be the Mike Bell bill from your boy at Real Mike Bell.
We'll just call it the Andrew Cuomo bill.
The Andrew Cuomo bill?
Yeah.
Because I want his name removed from history.
But do you want your name associated with that bill?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Because give me the praise, brother. Give it to me. I want to be big like that.
We can call it the ROC.
Yeah, we can call it the ROC.
Drop the rock on
bill,
their head.
The ROC bill. Yeah, man. I thought I had some really cool stuff, Ryan. I've been working with this soundboard that PTPgun.com sponsors. And guys, if you're not familiar with PTPgun.com, you should be. If you're in the Mid-Atlantic region, they are what I would consider the number one firearms training company in the Mid-Atlantic region. And it is Ryan's company, and he's pulled off money from his own company to support what we're doing here. So want to give props to him, and go out to ptpgun.com and see what you can do there. If you need to buy a firearm, you need to be trained to operate and own a firearm, or you want to be instructed on how to go about obtaining your concealed carry permit, Ryan not only offers those services, but he also hosts a blog with videos that can walk you through many of those steps along the way. So those are my words, not his, and he's not paying me to say that. He's just sponsoring the soundboard and the YouTube channel. What's up, guys?
What's up?
But I tried to load up a bunch of cool sounds on the soundbar, Ryan, and I really couldn't. I couldn't come up with the whole bunch, man. I got a few on here though. Let's see. Let's run some numbers here through the Rock Podcast Nation, guys. If you're listening, you let us know which ones you think should be stuck around here and which one should go. But this was the newest one I got, and I'm going all over the place. But this is what we should hit whenever we do something big. What do you think?
Corny old man.
Whack. What about this one?
Oh, yeah!
Macho Man. Yeah, it's a good one. But anyways, we're going all over the place, guys. Really what I want to say is this. Figure out a way to hold your elected officials more accountable. I think that everybody right now, if you are a Democrat, should be writing to your Democrat senator and saying, why have you not spoken up about what's going on with Andrew Cuomo? He's one of yours. He's one of your ilk. Hold him responsible. And if you're right of center, and I mean, this is what we got to deal with. This is the double standard that we have to live with. And it never ends, man. It never ends. And it frustrates me. And I think that we should be paying a close attention to this. Although it does sound sketchy as hell and conspiratorial, I do think that this is a power move to shift the attention away from the COVID response that Andy Cuomo had.
It's not by accident.
Andrew Cuomo. And I don't know. What do you got, Ryan? You got anything else on this?
I'm looking forward to having this conversation continued on the Right of Center Conservative America. It's a new group we got on Facebook. So if you're not on there yet, get on there and join the group. And not only do that, but like he said, get more of your friends on that as well. That group is growing quickly, and we need to keep this conversation going.
All right, guys, with that, it's a short one, but that's about all we got. Not trying to waste your time or waste ours. Keep an eye on the situation, guys. Head over to the Facebook group, the new one, and pay attention there. You'll see a lot of conversation dialing up there. With that, we're out.
Stay strapped to get clapped.
That's it, baby. Stay strapped to get clapped. Deuces.